Our special guest for the session is Mr. Mohammed Ali Tabba Saab. Mr. Mohammed Ali Tabba is the Chief Executive of Lucky Cement Limited. Mr. Tabba also served as the Chairman of Yunus Textile Mills Limited, a state-of-the-art home textiles mill with subsidiaries in North America and Europe. He is also the Chairman of Lucky Motors Corporation and Lucky Electric Power Company Limited. He is also the Chairman of Pakistan Textile Council and All Pakistan Cement Manufacturing Association. Mr. Tabba has extensive engagements in many community welfare projects and serves as on the boards of governors of renowned universities. He is also the Vice Chairman of the non-profit organization Aziz Tabba Foundation. In recognition of his services to the social development sector, he was named as a young global leader by the World Economic Forum in 2010. Furthermore, in 2012-13, he also received the Businessman of the Year award from the Karachi Chamber of Commerce and Industry. With this done, I would like to welcome Mr. Tabba Saab and hand over the moderation of the session to Vice Chancellor PIDE, Dr. Nadeem Ul Haq.
Welcome to the PIDE conference in BUITEMS. BUITEMS और बलूचिस्तान के students यहाँ बैठे हैं, professors बैठे हैं. So we very much like to hear from you, your vision for your industry. You're one of the biggest industrialists in Pakistan. Your vision for your industry and Pakistan. When will our exports grow to $100 billion? When will your industry compete with Infosys? आपसे पहले हमने भी एजाज हुसैन से बात की, उससे भी ये सवाल पूछा है कि हमारी कंपनीज कब $10 billion की होंगी, हमारी कंपनीज कब एक्सपोर्ट्स करेंगी, कब आपके दफ्तर होंगे अफ्रीका में, अर्जेंटीना में वगैरह वगैरह. So Tabba साहब, over to you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nadeem Ul Haq Sahab, Vice Chancellor. Ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum. बड़ा तवील सवाल है आपका, but इससे पहले, हम जवाब में जाते हैं, तो I think we should analyze, what's happening in our country today. We all know that today, we have political uncertainty, economic slowdown, and this certainty is not good for our country, and we really need to put our minds together to see how we can overcome the current crisis. How did we land up in this situation? My personal belief is that because of poor policy making in the past, corruption, blunders, I think this has compounded, over the years, and that's where we are today. So I call it, that Pakistan today is at a crossroad. We have been living as a country, beyond our means for many decades. And our source of foreign income, has primarily been export, which has not been growing very fast. Workers' remittance, foreign aid, multilateral loans, And if you've been bridging your import needs, through these means, so it means that the government really didn't put enough focus on exports, which has translated into a short-term mindset, for trading activities, import something, distribute, don't pay taxes, and make profit, Then, of course, it's all being done because of a poor taxation policy, And more than the policy, I think, is the implementation also. So I'm not saying that the policy doesn't exist. Policy does exist. But at the same time, the implementation is rather very weak, And why I say it's weak, because over the years, since early 80s, we haven't been able to overcome our smuggling problem, We haven't been able to overcome our under-invoicing and misdeclaration problem. Since the Afghan transit trade, started, that was the beginning of the end of the industrialization in Pakistan. Because if you are able to import freely, without paying any proper taxes, then of course don't pay any income tax, because you are easily able to conceal your income, by under-invoicing and misdeclaration. So all that, has happened, over the last many years, which has created a mindset in Pakistan in general that businesses should get involved in businesses, which is either rent seeking or it's in short-term nature where you are able to make a good return in short period of time without making any solid investment on the ground, which is basically for long-term sustainable, for long-term industrialization. So I would say after nationalization, I think which happened in 1974, the large businesses or conglomerates, lost confidence in the country. And this phenomena even exists today. In Pakistan, it's a security state and a political economy. Unless we don't get away with this mindset and start reforming our economy to market-based economy, which means the decision that has to be taken by the political party or the government in power at that particular time, they have to see what's happening around the world and what needs to be done, what doesn't need to be done. If you're going to keep subsidizing, everyone, whether it's industry, whether it's population, whether it's rich or middle class or whatsoever, we will never be able to grow, our economy in Pakistan. So for growth to happen on a sustainable basis, I think, which is the need of the hour, the rules of the game must change, unless we don't change our way of business and the way the decisions are being taken in Islamabad, I think we're not going to come out of this conundrum, which we are facing for the last many years. We all know the problems, I'm just going to repeat, what problems are we facing today. First of all, energy is the biggest challenge, not just on our budget, but also, the affordability by the people, and why I say people, because if a country has a per capita income of around $1,500 or $1,400, and you produce electricity at a cost which is not affordable, there will be, unreceivables, which will not be collected by the discos. Of course, we have huge inefficiencies on transmission and distribution network that needs to be addressed. Second biggest challenge is agriculture. I think because, as we all say, that when you give subsidies, you make that particular sector inefficient, and that's what has been happening in agriculture for the last so many years, that because being subsidized heavily, I think there has been no major modernization in our farm practices, So I'm sure we're still using the same technique and the same method, which we have been using for the last so many years, like 40, 50 years. So unless you don't bring in those efficiencies and we don't improve our yield, and with a growing population, food security is a must in Pakistan. Today, one of the reasons for high inflation is because we are not producing enough. So we have to import wheat, we have to import all our basic necessities such as lentils, At times we also have to import our vegetables and fresh fruits, So all that which is possible to grow in Pakistan, we have not been able to do that. Then is the privatization. The state-owned enterprises inefficiencies are known to all of us. It's not something that is not known, right? So government business, the government is not to be in a position to run businesses, Government situation should be to regulate the businesses. And what we have seen in the past, that the state-owned organization is losing money, and again, is such a big burden on our budget, that we're not able to meet other requirements, So you're basically spending money, to run those organizations, which will never be a profit-making organizations. So privatization is a must. Taxation. I think the biggest challenge, in Pakistan is a taxation. Look at the number of filers, we have in Pakistan. How many people pay direct taxes? The taxation rate in Pakistan is so high, that you are not able to attract foreign direct investment in real sectors such as exports, such as manufacturing. And the reason being is, because if your corporate tax rate and other taxes are higher than in the region, which offers better incentives, for the foreign investor, why the investment would come in Pakistan. So the investment does not come in Pakistan in sectors we want. They come and take the advantage of our demographics, right? So they take the advantage of our population. And most of the direct investment either we have seen is in oil and gas sector, which has a fixed return. It's independent power projects, again, which has a fixed return, or it's in FMCG, fast moving consumer goods, where, people has taken the advantage of our large population. And nothing has been done, by those organizations to even export from Pakistan, being present in Pakistan for last so many decades, no effort has been done. The next topic is, of course, industrialization and exports, that because we don't have a large scale industrialization, which has happened in the country after the nationalization, I think that has depleted our efficiencies, that has depleted our risk appetite. And because of that, we are dependent, only on few sectors, which are earning foreign exchange for the country. And we all know, textile is number one, followed by rice and other commodities. IT is now growing, but this is not something that will going to take the Pakistan, out of the crisis in which we are today. IT and service export, I remember very well 2 years ago, or maybe, when I started, when I was given a task of how we can revive industry and exports in Pakistan by the previous government, So when I started dissecting, sector by sector, I saw that there is so much of anomaly in our taxation, that if export of goods was subject to 1% or 1.25% withholding tax on revenue, service export, was attracting 29% corporate tax. So why would somebody, want to make an effort to export services out of the country and pay 29% tax, where other sectors, were paying only 1%. So on the recommendation, we have been successfully able to bring IT. I think today it's more or less at zero. Service export, I think, is at 1%. So we need to push, the capacity and capability of what we can harness in short term. Long term, medium to long term needs a lot of investment, and I will talk about that later. So if we can harness in short-term gains, even if we add gains, from existing sectors, I think if we really make a very good effort, maybe by 2025, I would say, that our exports can grow maybe up to maybe $40 billion. Then the biggest opportunity lies in our mining sector. I'm sure you all must be reading in the newspaper, that the Supreme Court is having this case on Recodic, and try to understand, how we can resolve this issue going forward, so we can bring in a large FDI, in this country and start exploring into mining, And because you guys are in Quetta today, I think Balochistan is a God-gifted province, It has got so many resources, natural resources, that not a single resources has been properly explored. And whatever small mining which is being done, in coal mining or chrome mining, but there's also not a large-scale mining. It's being done on a very small SME basis, because mining needs very large investment, and without making proper investment, you can't really achieve economies of scale. And if you cannot achieve economies of scale, you cannot bring the cost of product down, So for them to unleash this great potential, because after 18th Amendment, all the rights have been devolved to the province, and some of the province, actually lack capacity, and because of that capacity lacking, they are not able to formulate policies that can attract major investment, And I work personally, at Recodic, Today Recodic problem has been solved because of the initiative of the private sector, which was led by me personally, And we brought in all the foreign investors, which was Barrick Gold and Antofagasta, and the government of Pakistan, because those two foreign companies did not trust the mechanism and the government, because the prolonged prolonged court decisions, and the entire project was at halt, and there was a major liability hanging on Pakistan, which was $6 billion. So we made that effort, to bring everyone together. We hired the international experts, and we ensured that we come to a very reasonable, solution and the penalty. Although we're not in the forefront because we were asked not to come in the forefront, and we wanted this problem to be resolved between the government, establishment, provincial government, so at least we can get out of this issue for once and all. I hope Supreme Court sense will prevail, and we will be able to make a good breakthrough, And once we start unleashing this sector, trust me, Balochistan can alone, let's say if we take a horizon of 5 to 10 years, can easily export $15 to $20 billion of mines and minerals from that province alone. What will happen, it's going to help to resolve the pressing issues of unemployment, they're bringing the province at par with other provinces in the country, and all the grievances, which the people of Balochistan has. I think we will be able to address that, in a very short span of time. The other great potential, of course, in Balochistan is agriculture. We as corporate trying to experiment on corporate farming, especially in cotton, so that we can start unleashing the potential of agriculture also in Balochistan. And as we all know, that the land is very fertile and virgin. And if we do proper, if we can procure seeds, and we can adopt modern farming practice, and if the law and order is good, I think this province can again become very big in the agriculture side. If you look at media or you look at newspaper, there's always a blame game going on. The private sector is a rent-seeking sector. I don't deny that. Why it has become a rent-seeking sector is because, as mentioned in my earlier conversation, is a government policy. If you don't give a level playing field across different sectors, businessmen or the entrepreneur will going to adopt a easy route in which they are able to make better returns than running a industry, and where they can, where they don't pay or liable to pay taxes, land holding, parking assets in unproductive areas, So once you give that kind of environment, nobody would like to make an effort. And that's what we are lacking today in the country. But at the same time, private sector is the solution to our problems, whether we like it or not, unless we don't harness the potential of the private sector, we're not going to unleash the potential of this country. So what since I got involved in different areas, working with governments, different organizations, I realized there is so much of trust deficit, between the government, the regulator, and the sector. So then I thought, what would be the best way to overcome this the deficit, And I personally believe that public-private partnership model is the way forward for Pakistan. Today, we need to set up large industries. We need to privatize all our assets, including discos, power generation, railway, steel mill, and airlines or whatever we have, because those sectors cannot run in today's world under the government ministerial framework, because world has changed. Decision needs to be taken, on a very prompt basis, and as per the rules and regulation of the government, these organizations are not feasible, to be led by the government itself. So when you talk about industrialization, export potential, so we really need to start setting up large-scale industries. We don't need small industries, $100, $200 million. No, today we need investment of $4 billion, $5 billion, $8 billion, $10 billion per industry. I talked about mining. It's a great beginning. Hopefully, it will harness good results for the country if provided, given the right environment, given to those foreign companies, that will have confidence, and through that confidence, you will be able to attract many more other companies in Pakistan. Petrochemical complex, which includes top, modern refinery along with naphtha cracker. This project was conceived in Pakistan in the early 70s, that we need a naphtha cracker, so we can start going into petrochemicals, because today, whatever you use, there's plastic, there is resin, there are other chemicals, which you all need to import. And since 75 or early 80s, we've not been able to attract that investment and put that into reality. And the reason being is that because of the government issues, and I would also say political victimization, and the political victimization is not just against people, media, whatsoever. I think this political victimization also happens to large businesses today in Pakistan also. So government doesn't like private companies to flourish. That's also a major challenge in Pakistan, whether we accept or we don't accept. Because of that, I think people then shy away, they don't want to come in forefront and make an effort, because if you are not welcome in your own country, and you have so many hurdles and hiccups and people trying to block your way. So why would private sector, come in a big way and invest and take risks, in Pakistan? That's why I say that public-private partnership is the way forward. So we need to set up immediately a large-scale mining. We need to set up petrochemical complex. We need to undertake large steel mill, because again, steel today is a basic necessity. And any industry, whether it's white goods, cars, industry, construction, all need steel, and only product which we make in steel, products we make in Pakistan is these cold rolls, which are used for the white goods such as refrigerator and air conditioning. But also the raw material of that cold roll is being imported, So there's no hot roll industry in Pakistan which provides the basic raw material. And same goes for other industry. So we need to start harnessing, this model of partnership and start undertaking projects which is of world-class scale, and start putting resources, policy, start attracting FDIs, so we can start unleashing that. Unless we don't do that, I think the dream to achieve $100 billion export is going to be our dream only. We will never be able to achieve that in reality. Now, you see, as I said earlier, Dr. Saab, जब तक कि आप एक कंडक्टिव इन्वायरमेंट क्रिएट नहीं करेंगे ना, और आप ये टैक्सेशन की पॉलिसी को रिमैप नहीं करेंगे, डोंट एक्सपेक्ट कि पाकिस्तान के अंदर आपको बहुत बड़ी एफडीआई या कोई बहुत बड़ी इंडस्ट्रियल इन्वेस्टमेंट मिलेगी। और इन सब का रूट कॉज यही है कि हमारी जो गवर्नमेंट आती है पावर में, वो एक 5 साल के विजन से आती है, और उस 5 साल के विजन में वो 2 साल तो या 3 साल वही कहती है कि पिछली गवर्नमेंट के जो मसले मसाइल थे हमने उसको हल करें, और उसके बाद फिर वो जो 1 साल 2 साल रह जाता है इलेक्शन से पहले, उस पर वो अपने पैडल को दबाते हैं कि ग्रोथ को किसी तरीके से लेके जाएं ताकि अगले इलेक्शन में जीतने की तैयारी की जाए। और जब वो पैडल दबाते हैं ग्रोथ का, उससे आपकी इंपोर्ट बढ़ जाती है, और आपका जो करंट अकाउंट डेफिसिट है वो आपका हाथ से निकलता था, जिसकी वजह से आपको बाहर से डेट लेना पड़ता है। बट इस चीज का अफसोस भी है, बट इस चीज की मुझे खुशी भी है कि आज हम इस पॉइंट पे आ चुके हैं कि अगर हमने रियलाइज नहीं किया, एक तो आपकी बोरिंग कैपेसिटी अब लिमिट होती जा रही है। इसका मतलब यह कि आज से आपने जो रहना है वो अपने मीन्स के अंदर रहना है। जो आप फॉरेन एक्सचेंज कमा रहे हैं उतना ही आप खर्च कर सकते हैं। आपकी कैपेसिटी नहीं कि आज आप पाकिस्तान में कोई बहुत लार्ज स्केल आप बोरिंग कर सकते हैं, बिकॉज جو پچھلے لونز ہیں اس کو دینے کے لیے آپ کے پاس پیسے نہیں ہیں, اس کے لیے آپ ری رولنگ کی بات کر رہے ہیں, اس کے لیے آپ نئے قرضے لے کے پرانے قرضے اتار رہے ہوتے ہیں. تو جب تک کہ آپ اپنی اس ایریا کو ٹھیک نہیں کریں گے اور اپنے آپ کو اب اس سچویشن میں لے کے وہ فیصلے نہیں کریں گے کہ بھائی اب ہمارے پاس وہ فلیکسیبلٹی نہیں ہے جو تھی ہمارے پاس. جب تھی ہمارے پاس وہ ہم نے سارے پیسے امپورٹ کر کے اور لگژری چیزوں میں اور غیر ضروری چیزوں میں ہم نے امپورٹ کر کے وہ پیسے ضائع کر دیا. پی ایم ایل این کی پچھلی گورنمنٹ نے $18 بلین کا کرنٹ اکاؤنٹ ڈیفیسٹ چھوڑ کے گئے, اور پی ٹی آئی کی جو گورنمنٹ ابھی جو پچھلے سال اس سال جو جون میں جب گئی اس سے پہلے وہ بھی 18 بلین ڈالر کا کرنٹ اکاؤنٹ ڈیفیسٹ چھوڑ کے گئے. کیا پاکستان جیسے ملک میں جس میں آپ کی ٹوٹل انورڈ فارن ایکسچینج ہی تقریباً 60 سے 65 بلین ہے, اور آپ 20 بلین کا آپ کرنٹ اکاؤنٹ خسارہ چھوڑ کے جائیں گے, کوئی حکومت آئے گی یا کوئی بھی گورنمنٹ پاور میں آئے گی وہ چیز تو سنبھال ہی نہیں سکتی. دوسرا مسئلہ یہ ہے کہ آپ کی جب کرنٹ اکاؤنٹ ڈیفیسٹ بڑھتا ہے تو پھر آپ اپنی اکانومی کو سلو کرتے ہیں, اس سے کیا ہے, اس سے آپ کی ان امپلائمنٹ بڑھتی ہے, اس سے اس مرتبہ جو کموڈٹی کی سپر سائیکل دنیا میں آئی ہے بیکاز آف ویریس ریزن, جس میں رشیا یوکرین کی وار بھی ہے, باقی سچویشن بھی جس میں آئل کی پرائسز بھی آپ کی بڑھ گئی ہیں, تو اس میں آپ نے دیکھا کہ پاکستان کی سسٹینیبلٹی ہے نہیں. You're not a going concern. Everybody says that. We're not a going concern. You know, آپ کا بجٹ قرضے سے اسٹارٹ ہوتا ہے, قرضے پہ ختم ہوتا ہے. آپ کا جو آپ کی جو فسکل ڈیفیسٹ ہے وہ بھی اسی طریقے سے کہ آپ کے جو ٹیکس ریونیوز ہیں وہ اتنے ہیں ہی نہیں کہ آپ کی ساری ریکوائرمنٹ پوری کر سکیں, تو آپ کا جو بجٹ جو اسٹارٹ کرتے ہیں وہ بھی آپ سارے سے شروع کر رہے ہوتے ہیں. تو اس کا مطلب یہ ہے کہ آپ نے ٹیکسیشن کو اور ٹیکسیشن پالیسی کو اتنا روبوسٹ کرنا ہوگا اور اتنا اسٹرینتھن کرنا ہوگا کہ لوگوں کو ٹیکسز دینے ہوں گے. آپ سیکٹرز کو ایگزامپ نہیں کر سکتے, لانو کہ آپ نے ایگریکلچر کو ایگزامپ کر دیا. آپ ایگریکلچر کو اگر آپ فارمر کو ایگزامپ کرتے ہیں, بٹ فارم سے لے کے مارکیٹ تک جو مڈل مین جو پیسے کما رہا ہوتا ہے اس پہ تو آپ ٹیکسیشن لگائیں, اس پہ آپ کیوں ٹیکسیشن نہیں لگا رہے ہیں؟ ریل اسٹیٹ سیکٹر پہ آپ کیوں ٹیکسیشن آپ کی صحیح نہیں ہے؟ سروس سیکٹر میں آپ نے 17% کا GST لگایا ہوا ہے. ہر آدمی چاہتا ہے کہ اس کو اوائڈ کرے, کوئی چاہتے ہی نہیں کہ اسے کمپلائی کرے, بیکاز 17% in a country where the population lives below poverty, 40-50%, وہ کیسے 17% ٹیکس دے سکتا ہے؟ مطلب اس کے بعد تو کیپیسٹی نہیں ہے. جب بھی وہ پیرل اکانومی کا کانسیپٹ جو ہے وہ آپ کا گرو کر رہا ہے پاکستان میں, کہ ایک چیز جو ایک ریگولیٹڈ سیکٹر میں ایک چیز بکتی ہے 50 روپے کی, وہی چیز ان ریگولیٹڈ سیکٹر میں مے بی 30 روپے کی بک رہی ہے, بیکاز وہ ٹیکس نہیں دیتے, GST وہ انکم ٹیکس نہیں دیتے, باقی ٹیکسز نہیں دیتے. تو آپ نے وہ ایک طرف اتنی لاپ سائڈڈ ٹیکسیشن کریٹ کر کے آپ نے اتنا انفیوریبل انوائرمنٹ کریٹ کر دیا ہے, جس سے آپ جو انویسٹرز ہیں ان کے لیے آپ نے مسئلے کر دیے. تو اگر آپ نے ان سب مسئلوں سے نکلنا ہے تو آپ نے ٹیکسیشن کو ایک پراپر طریقے سے آپ نے اڈاپٹ کرنا ہوگا. کوئی بھی آدمی انکم کرو, صحیح ہے, آپ ایک سرٹن سیکٹر اور سلیب تک آپ انکم ٹیکس ایگزمپشن دے سکتے ہیں, بٹ جو بڑے سیکٹرز ہیں, ریل اسٹیٹ ہے, ایگریکلچر ہے, باقی سروس انڈسٹریز ہیں, مطلب آپ کو پتا ہے کہ پاکستان کے اندر مینوفیکچرنگ کا جو GDP کا جو کنٹریبیوشن ہے وہ 18-20% ہے, اور اس کا جو ٹیکسیشن کی جو اس پہ ٹیکسز ہیں سارے ملا کے 50-55% کی جو گورنمنٹ کو جو ٹیکسیشن ملتی ہے وہ اس سیکٹر سے ملتی ہے, جس کا 20% کنٹریبیوشن ہے. ایگریکلچر ہے آپ کا, اس میں آپ کو 1% ملتی ہے. سروس آپ کا 18 سے 20% کا کنٹریبیوشن ہے, اس میں 2 سے 3% آپ کو ٹیکسیشن ملتی ہے. ہر آدمی ٹیکس اوائڈ کر رہا ہے, چاہے وہ ڈاکٹر ہو, چاہے وہ لائر ہو, چاہے وہ کیٹرنگ والا ہو, چاہے وہ سلون والا ہو, یا کوئی اور باقی سروسز کر رہا ہو. کسی آدمی نے پراپر ٹیکسز جمع ہی نہیں کرانے ہوتے ہیں, بیکاز آپ کی ٹیکسیشن اتنی زیادہ ہے کہ وہ ٹیکس اوائڈنس کی طرف جاتے ہیں رادر دین کہ ٹیکس کمپلائنس کی طرف جاتے ہیں. تو میرے خیال میں اب جس ہم کراس روڈ پہ کھڑے ہیں, جو میں نے پہلے بھی تذکرہ کیا تھا, اس کراس روڈ سے نکلنے کا ایک ہی حل ہے کہ ہم اپنے آپ کو ٹھیک کرنا شروع کریں, اور اس چیز کو ہم ایکسیپٹ کر لیں کہ جس طریقے سے ہم ملک چلا رہے تھے ہم اس طریقے سے ملک نہیں چلا سکتے, اور اگر اسی طریقے سے چلاتے رہے تو آپ اس مرتبہ سے دیوالیے سے بچ جائیں گے. آپ باہر سے قرضے بھی لے لیں گے, آپ اپنے دوستوں سے اپنے لون کو بھی ری پروفائل یا ری شیڈول کرا لیں گے, بٹ اس طریقے سے ملک نہیں چلتے. اگر آپ نے اپنے پیروں پہ کھڑا ہونا ہے تو آپ نے جو آج کی حقیقت ہے اس کو اپنانا ہوگا. اس کو اگر آپ نہیں اپنائیں گے تو پھر اس ملک ایسے ہی چلتا رہے گا جیسا 75 سال سے چل رہا ہے.
You made some excellent points. جی بالکل ٹھیک ہے. I believe you got 15 minutes for question and answer. Is that right? جب میں نے کہا 15 منٹ ہے نا آپ کے پاس سوال جواب کے لیے.
جی بالکل ہے, بالکل ہے.
اچھا ٹھیک ہے. اچھا جی جب صاحب لیٹ می بگن اینڈ لوگوں کو میں پلیز ہاتھ کھڑا کرنا شروع کر دے. ویلکم ٹو یو گنزالو, جو بھی کھڑا کرنا چاہتے کرے. بٹ لیٹ می آسک a quick first question. Tabba sahab, you mashallah one of the biggest businessmen in Pakistan, very successful, very well known, etc. And we just had new sort of rising business star Azaz Hussain too. So I want to ask you this question. Aapne badi achhi baat ki ki hum we need a change in our tax policy, our regulatory policy, and we need to get rid of rent seeking, and we need to develop a competitive environment. And I think this is music to our ears. This is an economist session. Yeah, mashallah. BUITEMS کے اسٹوڈنٹس بیٹھے ہیں, فیکلٹی بھی بیٹھی ہے, بلوچستان یونیورسٹیز کے اور بھی لوگ ہیں وغیرہ. تو آپ سے میں ایک چھوٹی سی سوال پوچھنا چاہتا ہوں, 2 سوال چھوٹے سے مکس ٹوگیدر. ون از کہ پیپل لائک یو ہیو اے سیٹ ایٹ دا بزنس ٹیبل. جب پالیسی ٹیبل آئی وڈ سے whenever there's a meeting in the finance ministry, and I used to be there for 3 years, there are always businessmen like yourself there. PBC gets front seat and the businessmen get a front seat, and mashallah you are always making policies. So hamari jo conference is on the charter of the economy. Can the businessmen put forward a charter of economy? Can you people get together and tell the government that you want a competitive environment and collectively agree okay, we want a competitive environment, we are willing to bring down the regulatory barriers, we are willing to bring down the SROs, we are willing to bring down all the various things, and we'll all learn to sink and swim together and take the bullet by the horn, or the bull by the horn. Is that something that is possible? ہو سکتا ہے کہ بزنس مین ایک چارٹر آف اکانومی پیش کرتے کہ ہم جی تیار ہیں سبسڈی ختم کرنے کو, ہم تیار ہیں مرنے یا جینے کو ایک کمپیٹیٹو انوائرمنٹ میں. کیا یہ ہو سکتا ہے؟ اور پھر ٹیکسیشن پہ بھی سملر تھنگ کہ if we do that then we can also address the, because اس وقت جو ہمیں ہرڈل لگ رہا ہے, سب سے بڑا ہرڈل یہ ہے کہ رینٹ سیکنگ انوائرمنٹ کسی چیز کو ختم نہیں ہونی دے رہی. تو بتائیے کیا خیال ہے اس پہ؟
دیکھیں ڈاکٹر صاحب آپ صحیح کہہ رہے ہیں کہ دیکھیں ہم جب ٹیبل پہ بیٹھتے ہیں تو ہماری تو ایک پالیسی ریکمنڈیشن ہوتی ہے, ڈیسیژن میکنگ تو گورنمنٹ کے پاس ہوتی ہے. اور آپ کو میں نے بتایا کہ جو بھی گورنمنٹ پاور میں آتی ہے وہ ایک 5 سال کے لیے آتی ہے, اور ان کا ایک اپنا ایک شارٹ ٹرم ویژن ہوتا ہے, اور اس ویژن میں وہ بہت ساری پالیسی ریکمنڈیشن کو امپلیمنٹ بھی نہیں کرتے. آپ نے صحیح کہا کہ ایک چارٹر اکانومی ہونی چاہیے, یا ایک چارٹر آف economy which needs to be agreed by all stakeholders, اور جب میں اسٹیک ہولڈرز کی بات کرتا ہوں تو اس میں سارے ہوئیں گے, آپ کی اسٹیبلشمنٹ بھی ہوگی, گورنمنٹ بھی ہوگی, میڈیا بھی ہوگا, جوڈیشری بھی ہوگی, اور نیب بھی ہوگی. بیکاز آپ کو پتا کہ اس ملک میں قانون اتنے مشکل ہیں کہ جس کو چوری کرنی ہے تو کر کے نکل جاتا ہے, لیکن جو کام کر رہا ہوتا ہے وہی ایٹ دی اینڈ آف دا ڈے آپ پاکستان میں آپ کے پاس ہے یہاں پہ. اور سارے businesses don't think that way. ہر آدمی اور ہر انسان کی اپنی ایک پرسنالٹی اور اپنا ایک ویژن ہے, and the way I interacted also with businesses in Pakistan, as I said, کہ rent seeking culture has become the part of our game now. اور اس کو کبھی بھی بزنس کمیونٹی جو ہے وہ چیلنج نہیں کرے گی. وہ تو گورنمنٹ کو سمجھنا ہے کہ یار آپ نے جو انوائرمنٹ کریٹ کیا ہے جس سے رینٹ سیکنگ کلچر ڈیولپ ہو گیا ہے, and nobody want to let go of that rent seeking culture. So the policy which the government has to design that will actually going to force people to get out of that comfort zone and rent seeking culture and start competing in the real world. اور وہ صرف پالیسی کے تھرو آ سکتا ہے, وہ بزنس مین کی ریکمنڈیشن سے نہیں آتا, بیکاز ان کا بھی ویسٹڈ انٹرسٹ ہے پاکستان کے.
یہ بات آپ سے پوچھ لوں before we go, کل yesterday we had a talk by a Nobel Prize winner, Michael Spence. اس نے اپنی ٹاک میں, بڑی اچھی ٹاک تھی, ویری گڈ ٹاک, but he said something very important which I want to bring to the table to you. You talked about a lot of things like ہم نے ٹیکسٹائل میں کچھ کریں, ایگریکلچر میں کریں, وغیرہ وغیرہ. We were talking still of the physical industry. اینڈ آپ جو سارے انڈسٹریز ہمارے ہیں ماشاء اللہ زیادہ تر کموڈیٹی پروڈیوسنگ انڈسٹریز ہیں. موسٹ آف یو جسٹ کموڈیٹی, سیمنٹ ہو گیا, processed sugar ho gaya, ya whatever, energy ho gayi. So it's a commodity production business. But Michael Spence yesterday, and we all know that, was emphasizing the new age of digitization and the new age of robotics and how we are moving towards a very different world. तो हमारा जो कल्चर अभी तक है कि हम मशीनरी इंपोर्ट करके बिजनेस चलाएंगे, मेक कमोडिटीज. How are you prepared for that? Are you ready to change and move into the digital world? I mean, I'm speaking to you now as leading businessman in आपके business community. How are you positioning yourself for the new digital world?
देखिए, digitalization definitely is the need of the hour, but I think जब तक कि आपके businesses नहीं होंगे या industry नहीं होगी, आप उसको digitalization पे कैसे जाएंगे ना? आप कह रहे हैं कि देखिए दुनिया में जो major exporting countries हैं, आप किसी को भी उठा लें, सिवाय एक दो मुल्क के आप हटा के सारी की जो एक्सपोर्ट है वो तो सारी कमोडिटी ड्रिवन है जी. मतलब कतर क्या कर रहा है, वो एलएनजी एक्सपोर्ट कर रहा है, कमोडिटी बिजनेस है. इंडोनेशिया क्या करता है, वो कोल एक्सपोर्ट करता है, वो बाकी चीजें बेसिक कमोडिटीज फूड है, मतलब पाम ऑयल है. मलेशिया क्या करता है, पाम ऑयल एक्सपोर्ट करता है. कमोडिटी, देखिए कमोडिटी ही है जो आपको एक फॉरेन एक्सचेंज रेवेन्यू दे सकती है. आप आज इंडस्ट्री में इतने पीछे चले गए हैं, मतलब आप कार इंडस्ट्री में आप कम्पीट नहीं कर सकते, मोबाइल फोन में आप कम्पीट नहीं कर सकते, आप बाकी एरियाज में कम्पीट नहीं कर सकते. तो वो इसलिए भी कम्पीट नहीं कर सकते, आपके रॉ मटेरियल नहीं है ना. आप एक चीज को बनाने के लिए, गाड़ी बनाने के लिए हम कहते हैं कि हमने 60% लोकलाइजेशन कर दी है, बट 60% का एक्चुअल लोकलाइजेशन जो वो 15% है. वो इससे 15% है कि उसका 80% रॉ मटेरियल इम्पोर्टेड है. आपने गाड़ी के शीशे बनाने तो ग्लास इंपोर्टेड है, उसकी कटाई करके आप कहते हैं मैंने लोकलाइज कर दिया. आपने सीट्स बनानी है, आपने कहा कि इसके जितने भी केमिकल्स हैं वो आपने इंपोर्ट कर लिया, आपने कहा कि मैंने सीट बना ली. तो मेजर कंपोनेंट जो है वो तो आपका इंपोर्टेड रॉ मटेरियल है. तो जो इंडस्ट्री जिसकी आप बात करें वो कंपैरेटिव हो गए और जो आगे की तरफ चल के, बिकॉज इन्होंने अपने पहले बेसिक इंडस्ट्रीज को सेट किया, उससे इन्होंने उसको रैंप अप करके फिर आगे वैल्यू एडिशन की तरफ चले गए वो. तो जब आपके पास रॉ मटेरियल नहीं है तो आप बेसिक वैल्यू एडिशन कहाँ से करेंगे? और अगर आप वैल्यू एडिशन कर लेंगे तो आपकी जो एनर्जी कॉस्ट है पाकिस्तान में, जो आपकी टैक्सेशन कॉस्ट है पाकिस्तान के अंदर, जो कॉस्ट ऑफ डूइंग बिजनेस है, आप कंपैरेटिव भी नहीं रहते बाद में. तो समझने की बात यह है कि कमोडिटी ही से जो है वो फॉरेन एक्सचेंज अर्न होता है. और बड़ी इकोनॉमी जो बड़े है, मतलब चाइना को आप छोड़ दें, चाइना ने पिछले 30-40 सालों में बैठ के अपने आप को पूरा इवॉल्व किया, बिकॉज उन्होंने देखा कि यार हमारे पास कोई बेसिक कमोडिटी नहीं एक्सपोर्ट करने के लिए, तो अनलेस वी डोंट गो इनटू दैट वैल्यू एडिशन, तो उन्होंने क्या किया, सारी बेसिक इंडस्ट्रीज लगा दी. दुनिया का केमिकल चाइना से आता है, दुनिया के जो रॉ मटेरियल्स है वो चाइना से आ रहे होते हैं, बिकॉज उन्होंने वो अपने आप की वो इंडस्ट्रियलाइजेशन करके इन्होंने उस चीज को एक मजबूत किया और उसके बाद फिर वो आगे वैल्यू एडिशन की तरफ चले गए. तो आई थिंक एक मिथ है कि बेसिक कमोडिटी एक्सपोर्ट करना जो है वो ठीक नहीं है. आई थिंक आप जब बच्चा पैदा होता है ना, वो पहले नहीं चलता, वो पहले गिरता है, फिर टॉडलर बनता है, फिर चलता है, फिर आगे चलता है, फिर दौड़ता है. इसी तरीके से एक इंडस्ट्री का एक इवॉल्व होती है वक्त के
मतलब
साथ.
स्टेप बाय स्टेप चल. ठीक है जी. Gonzalo from the World Bank, go ahead.
Thank you very much. I'm Gonzalo Varela from the World Bank. This was a very insightful presentation. I only understood about half of it because I don't speak Urdu, unfortunately. But from what I understood, what it was really music to my ears, as Nadim said that it was for his, was the fact that you underlined how the subsidy schemes, the complexity of the subsidy schemes in place, and the lack of market orientation of the economy are a problem for Pakistan growing fast and growing sustainably. And I completely agree with that. What I wanted to understand a little bit better is how can we circle that with the fact that, for example, right now, industrialists are lobbying for subsidies on energy. So that's just one example. But if you look at the export financing scheme, that is a very generous credit subsidy, is very much captured by large exporters. The same thing with the LTL, very much captured by large exporters in the textile sector. So how do we break free of that system, of that complexity in the subsidy schemes, when you have this very difficult, perhaps capture is not the right word, but very intense lobbying from industries to keep securing these subsidies? How do we break free from that vicious circle?
Okay. I think when you talk about energy subsidy, actually, what we tell to government, that, the way that the different slabs are being worked out for different sectors, so subsidy is given to fertilizer, subsidy is given to domestic consumer. So, and what they do is, they charge higher tariff to us to cross-subsidize the other sector. So our question to the government is always, that if you want to give subsidy, don't cross-subsidize, you give directly from your budget. So when you cross-subsidize, you make tariffs so high, for other industries that we cannot compete globally or regionally with our neighboring countries, So we said that if you want to cross-subsidize, then of course, then you need to give us the real cost, and what we ask is the real cost, not a subsidized cost. I think there's a lot of misperception among the people, that we ask for subsidy. We don't ask for subsidy. We say, give us a real cost. We don't want subsidy. But if you are cross-subsidizing any industry because of that, we cannot pay for that. Number one. Number two, you said DLTL, it doesn't exist anymore. DLTL has been finished since this financial year, so there's no DLTL on any exports from Pakistan. Number three, when you have high electricity tariff, because if government has made wrong decision, by setting up these large power plants based on imported fuel and not looking at the long-term pros and cons, that today you have given electricity, and has met the shortage, but at what cost? At the cost of 20 cents, 30 cents a kilowatt hour, where our neighboring countries are giving and producing power at 10 cents per kilowatt hour. We cannot pay for your, we cannot pay for your line losses. We cannot pay for your circular debt. This is something which is administrative problem, and you don't want to resolve it. We are not, industry cannot pay for your inefficiencies. So the whole idea, when we talk about subsidy, is actually not a subsidy. We always talk about the real cost, and industry cannot bear the cost of inefficiency and cross-subsidization of different sectors.
Sir, I have a question.
Last question, ji. Last question. Tabba sab has to go. Okay.
My name is SNHXD. I'm faculty at BUITEMS. Your industry both imports gas and limestone. Balochistan is abundant with both. But the cement industry never came to Balochistan. Very recently, DG Cement has a plant. So what kept you out of Balochistan for so many years? And we still have those resources that your industry needs.
Yeah, I think there are two reasons, for people not coming in Balochistan in cement industry. A, there is no captive, there's not a very large consumption of cement in Balochistan. And transportation is one of the major costs, for transporting cement from one city to the other. So people would like to go and set up factories, near to the marketplace, so their transportation cost is lower, and it's affordable. Balochistan has absolutely a lot of limestone reserves, but at the same time, the captive consumption of I don't have the exact data of what is the market size of Balochistan for cement consumption, but I'm sure it's very, very low, So the major consumption is in Punjab, followed by Sindh, and then KPK. Balochistan comes right at the bottom of the consumption, per capita consumption in cement. So as I said, unless we don't start harnessing the development of Balochistan, and start bringing at par with other provinces, I think a lot of industry will shy away from coming into Balochistan because of a lesser demand, in that particular province. Once the growth of the province starts to happen, you will see automatically, industry, also coming in that particular province and start setting up their requirements.
Thank you very much. I know you have to go to another meeting. Thank you very much for giving us your time. We will call on you from time to time, because I think it's very important for us to learn from industry what you people think and how we can interact with you. So we would love for you to when you come to Islamabad, do give us some time, come over and see us at PIDE. We are very happy to hear from you. Thank you, and all the best. Inshallah, we'll be in touch soon.
Thank you, Dr. Sir. Thank you, sir.